Good evening. My name is Chad Johnson. As Vice President of the Forney ISD Board of Trustees, I hereby call the Forney ISD Board of Trustees meeting to order. The time is now 7:02 p.m. And I certify that a quorum is present and the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required by law. These meetings are open to the public. Although the meeting is public, comments or questions for the audience are confined to the time designated for citizens to address the board. Thank you for attending. I hope you find our meeting insightful and informative. At this time, we will move to agenda item number 3A. Our invocation tonight will be led by Dr. Bill Lundy. Dr. Lundy is the pastor of Heartland Fellowship Church. He's been married to Debbie, a registered nurse, for 41 years, and together they are blessed to be the parents of 4 children and 8 grandchildren. Dr. Lundy has been involved in ministry for 48 years and earned his BS in theology, an MA in education administration, as well as a PhD. Pastor Lundy enjoys the outdoors, hunting and fishing. He's the owner of Texas Fence Staining and Repairs. And this year, Heartland Fellowship has adopted Johnson Elementary, offering additional support and services to the students and staff. Dr. Lundy places his commitment and service to God, family, and community. We are thankful to have the Heartland Fellowship Church as a member of our Forney family, and thank you for what you do for Johnson Elementary. Dr. Lundy.
It's exciting to see the community coming together in the school through our meetings that have been going on in the community interaction. God says if you need wisdom, ask, and He gives it. And no offense to you, but I don't know of a group of people that need wisdom any more so than the leadership that you do. So we appreciate you, and we would like to pray on your behalf. God, you promise that you give the wisdom to those that seek after it and come to you. For these ladies and gentlemen that lead our school district, we ask that you give them wisdom beyond their own knowledge, wisdom beyond their own capacity. And as they make guidelines and decisions concerning our children and our community, that they would be based upon your truth. We thank you for our school district, for the protection that you have placed here, and we ask that you continue to protect our children, our teachers, our staff. Guide this meeting tonight. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Lundy, and thank you again for what your church is doing for our students and our teachers at Johnson. At this time, moving on to item 3B, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance both to the U.S. flag and the Texas flag. Our U.S. flag will be led by our Secondary Student of the Month. Dr. Pam Luttrell will come and introduce our Student of the Month from Secondary, and then our Texas Pledge will be led by our Elementary Student of the Month, and Miss Nancy McElroy will introduce our Elementary Student of the Month. Dr. Luttrell. I didn't even try. You're right. I actually said that's why Mr. Ferris is not here tonight.
Hi, I'm Pam Luttrell. Good evening, board and Dr. Terry. Sit back for a few minutes because I'm going to introduce you to an outstanding young student. This is Blessing Anna Buble. No, I'm sorry. But she is an 8th grader here at Brown Middle School. She's in Spanish 1, Algebra 1, Advanced Science, Advanced Social Studies, Advanced Theater, and English. She was elected as the NJHS president for the 18-19 school year. She's played a part in every BMS show during her time at there. She was in Hush, Beauty and the Beast Jr., Brothers Grimm Speculation, and Oz. Most recently, she received the Honorable Mention All-Star Cast for her outstanding and hilarious portrayal of the Cowardly Lion at the UIL one-act play competition, helping her team win first place overall. Earlier this year, Blessing was also the only middle school student in the ensemble of Hairspray, the musical at North Forney High School. And then I'm just going to read you some things her teachers wrote. Ms. Shirley, her advanced English teacher, stated, "I want to be Blessing when I grow up. She is ambitious, intelligent, a talented actor, and crazy funny. She strives for challenges and pushes herself to greater achievements. One of the things I love most about Blessing is that she takes chances, even if she might fail. She is aware of the people around her, and I hope she uses that awareness to change people's lives in the future. I will most certainly keep my eyes open. I think we're going to see her doing some pretty incredible things in the future." Ms. Villegas, her Spanish teacher, said Blessing is an awesome student. I love that she always comes in with a smile and a great attitude. I can tell that she will accomplish many things and be successful in the future. I hate that she's in 8th grade and I will no longer have a student. Blessing, I love how kind you are, determined you are in school, and how contagious your smile is. Her theater teacher said Blessing lives up to her name. She is truly a blessing to the classroom, other students, and to me. I'm so thankful for the privilege to have her as my student in my first 2 years teaching. She has been a leader in our advanced theater program both during and after school. She commits to her work, whether it's playing a character or organizing props. I trust her to always get the job done. The girl does it all. She has such a bright future ahead of her in theater and any field she pursues. I will miss her dearly. And then Ms. Hippo says, what can I say about Blessing that people can't already see when you meet her? She is outgoing, smart, and always willing to help others. She is passionate whatever she's doing, whether it's UIL calculator or theater. She is always going above and beyond in her work and her attitude towards others. So we are very proud at Brown Middle School to present Blessing to you.
At this time, we'll have Ms. McElroy come forward and introduce our Elementary Student of the Month. Sorry, Katie Wilson is coming. Ms. McElroy is ill tonight.
I was going to say.
Sorry.
Ms. McElroy is under the weather today, and she sent me here in her place. So good evening to the members of the board and Dr. Terry. It is my pleasure to introduce Chance Allen to you. He is Forney ISD's Elementary Student of the Month, and he represents Johnson Elementary. His family has a long history of being at Johnson, and we're proud that he is here in 6th grade now. He has 2 sisters. Mackenzie is a senior at Forney High School, and Haley, who is a former Jackrabbit as well. Tonight, he is also joined by his parents, Paul and Jenny Allen. When we asked Chance's teachers about him, they said, Chance checks off all the boxes of an exceptional student. He exhibits grit on a daily basis. He is respectful and responsible and trustworthy. He always volunteers to help out. He does the right thing even when no one is looking. He is a very inquisitive student. He gives every task 100% and seems to enjoy everything about it. His enthusiasm is contagious. He has a great sense of humor. For example, whenever he turns in his work, he signs it 100% awesomeness. And he's not wrong, because it's usually very awesome. He's a free thinker and is not afraid to make mistakes, which makes him a prime candidate for great success in the future. Chance is a student on whom all teachers can agree. He is respectful and always does his best. He's an awesome young man. We are also glad to have had the privilege of being his teacher. Now, something outside of school about Chance. He enjoys auto racing and attends events at the Texas Motor Speedway. Chance loves math and science. He has an interest in remote control cars and has been using his 6th grade science knowledge of Newton's laws and applying that knowledge to figure out the why of how his cars work and move. He's looking forward to learning more in advanced science and math next year, especially in coding. In the future, watch out, Chance plans to run a car company with his friend Michael. For all of these reasons and more, Chance was selected to represent Johnson Elementary tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Would everyone please rise for our pledges?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Parents, if you would like to come forward for a photo. Moving on to agenda item number 4A, student recognitions. At this time, Mr. Neil Weaver will come forward to introduce our student athlete recognitions this evening. Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, sir. Members of the board, Dr. Terry, and members of the audience, it is my pleasure once again to recognize some outstanding ladies and gentlemen, and this evening to recognize really a program that is one of our fastest growing and most successful programs in Forney ISD. Our swimmers and divers actually won the district championship for the third year in a row this year. This is a program that has doubled its numbers, approximately doubled its numbers in the last 3 years, has seen great success, and this is the second year in a row that we've been fortunate to be able to send both swimmers and divers to the UIL state meet in Austin at the University of Texas. So we're excited to recognize all of these young ladies and gentlemen this evening. I'll begin by asking the coaches of the swim and dive team to come up and join me at the podium. If you would, please. You're actually right up here so that you can help welcome your competitors as they come forward. Mr. and Mrs. Coach Thompson with our swimming and dive team. For Forney ISD, they coach both the Forney High School and North Forney High School swimmers and divers. First gentleman I'd like to recognize is actually our first swimmer or diver to be very soon signing a letter of intent to dive at the next level. He will be going to the College of Notre Dame, which is in Ohio, and he will be a Falcon there just as he is a Falcon here. First, I'm recognizing him as All-State Academic for swim and dive, and also for representing our school district in North Forney High School at the state meet in diving. Mr. Jeff Sharp, would you come up and join us, please? For Forney High School, we had both our first individual swimming competitor to represent us at the state meet, as well as a relay that represented us at the state meet. And we had 2 divers that represented us. So I'm going to call them up in order. If you would, please join us up here. Sky Hoover for diving and Bryce Benson for diving. For representing Forney High School individually in the 500 free, as well as being a member of the 400 free relay. This is the first individual swimming event that where we were able to send a competitor to the state meet, Mr. Andrew Gilbert. And joining Mr. Gilbert on that 400 free relay team was Logan Pritchett. John Lindeman. Justin Stevens. Nick Tirio. And Michael Gilbert. Once again, our swimmers and divers, we are very well pleased that they represented us, and they represented us well. Competed honorably at the University of Texas in the UIL State Swim and Dive competition. Parents and family, if you would like to join us, please, at the front. We'd love to get a photo with the young ladies and gentlemen on this team.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver, and congratulations to all of these athletes. That's an amazing accomplishment. Moving on to item 4A3, we've got some All-State musicians and some other introductions in the fine arts by by Mario Luna. Be over here, Doctor? Yeah, well, come on. You staying over here?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Johnson and Board. Can I call up Mr. Kilgore and Ms. Turner to the front? They are two of our three band directors at North Forney. And we have two students to present that performed. So just real quick, beginning each fall, over 70,000 high school students across the state audition in this process. It starts in the summer, and there's 2 rounds in December and 1 that was in January. So would Ms. Madeline Burr please come forward? She's a senior at North Forney, and she performed last month, okay, because it is March, at the All-State conference that we had in San Antonio. This was her second time to perform, and she currently ranks first in her class. So hopefully she said that just a few more weeks and she will be our soon-to-be valedictorian. So, Gabe Rios, is he here today? Not? Yep. Thank you, Gabe. He is in 11th grade, and he performed at that same conference last month on French horn. These two students, just like I was saying, I mean, they performed, there was all-state groups, there's about 14 all-state groups from all over the state, so we would just like to recognize them. So, thank you so much. If we can get their moms and dads up here, we'll do one big picture. Oh, yeah.
All right, next up is our item 4A4. We have recognition of our national championship Forney High School competition cheerleaders. Mr. Luna.
Thank you. Would all our cheerleaders from Forney High please come to the front? And Ms. Gonzalez is with us, and Ms. Lawrence is with us. Okay, so the Forney High School competitive cheer team recently competed at the National Cheer Association High School Nationals in the Spirit Program category. This is pretty much a new category at this competition, and they placed first in teams across from the U.S. The team was comprised of 20 cheerleaders, 5 dancers, 1 mascot, and 4 snare drummers. The 3-minute routine consisted of a crowd leading section, a band chant, and a traditional fight song. From scoring 91.8 on day 1 of prelims to 96.17 in finals on day 2, the team improved their score by 5 points to end up winning this new division with a total average of 95.05. This is our first place national champion team. So, and they were led by Ms. Gonzalez, which is no longer with us. She left in December after 9 years. So, just want to just thank her for all her help. And Ms. Lawrence joined us this year right here. So, this is your Forney High School national champion team.
Larry, I thought you'd stack them up.
Thank you, Mr. Luna, and congratulations again to all of our students. At this time, moving on to item 5 on the agenda, donations. Goal 1 for our learning organization. At this time, Ms. Kate Bell Carlieber will introduce CoServe for the recognition of their donation to the Forney Education Foundation. Ms. Carlieber?
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Terry and board and audience for having us tonight. We are very blessed in Forney ISD to partner with CoServe. Certainly when we count CoServe as a partner, we definitely count them twice. Not only are they very charitable to the foundation, but also through our district through programs like Lead 19 and then also feeding our teachers at Ray. So I would like to ask Mario and Tracy and Marley to come up. We're very blessed to have Marley here tonight. He's actually one of our field reps on the north side. So we're very glad to have him. He lives in Forney. At this time, I'm going to give Mario the mic, and he has a few words for you guys.
Thank you, Kate, Dr. Terry, board. On behalf of course, CoServe, we're very happy to be here. It's kind of hard to follow up all those awesome awards that your students won. I think they're all walking out now, but total kudos to the cheerleaders. My daughter's totally stressed out right now going through cheer tryouts, so to be national champs, that's pretty awesome, so congratulations on that. Going back to why we're here, though, we are with CoServe. We're an energy cooperative that provides electricity and gas throughout 7 counties. We're based out of Denton County, but we're happy to make the trek out here to Kaufman County to be here with y'all. We are a proud partner. We take part in being part of the communities that we serve. Marley is here. Like he said, he's a Forney resident, so I was joking with him a minute ago. If y'all aren't happy with something, don't call me. Y'all look for Marley. He'll take care of it. But in reality, as Kate said, we're happy to do everything we can. I know this is the second time we've been out here to make a donation. So with this $5,000 donation we're making today to your foundation, that equals out to $10,000 over the last 2 years that I know goes to support dual credit scholarships. We're happy to be here. We're looking forward to doing more with your school district and with y'all, and we're just happy to partner with Forney ISD. So thank you for having us, and I think we just want to take a photo.
Yeah.
All right.
We like money. We don't know what we're doing. Get up here, you know where you're. All right.
Thank you to CoServe and to our Education Foundation for all that they do for our district. At this time, moving on to item number 6 on our agenda, the public forum. It's my understanding at this time that no one has signed up to address the board tonight, so we will move on to item number 7, reports. The next 3 items are reports only and require no action from the board. Item 7A is our monthly financial report. At this time, Mr. John Chase will come and give us our financial report. Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. The board was given the financial report for January in your board packet for review. Just the highlights of the report. For revenues in the general fund, we had $16.4 million of collections for the month. We spent $7.3 million in expenditures. The year-to-date total of revenue collected was $60.2 million, or 70% of the amount estimated. Now, this amount is slightly above what we had last year. I think, as I put in the background narrative, we had the same issue in the debt service side, where last year I believe we collected 63%. It was just a timing of when the December 31st or January 31st, excuse me, it fell I think on a weekend this last year, and this year it did not. It was like on a Monday, so had an extra day of collections. I fully expect when February ends and we report to you in February, the collections will be tracking back on track with what they have in prior years. Going to finally down in the expense side, the total expenditures for the year is 50 point, is that 50 or 60? I think it's 50.6 million, sorry. That's 55% of the amount appropriated. And again, this, when you compare it to last year, 55% was what we had at the same point in time. So we're tracking along perfectly there. Moving on to the debt service side, we had $7.6 million of revenue collected. Again, January is a big tax collection month. They go delinquent after January 31st. So in December, January, we have big tax collection months. From this point on, things will start trailing off pretty light for tax collections moving on through the end of the fiscal year. Expenditures, we had only $540. That was arbitrage compliance work that we had done for our debt service. We had to have contracted service with a company that does that to make sure that we meet all our tax compliance work for selling tax-exempt debt. So finally, the year-to-date revenue recognized was $18.8 million, or 90% of the amount estimated, and year-to-date expenditures was $13.4 million, or 72% of the amount estimated. So, and then last but not least, the cash and investment report are on hand at the end of January. The total was $75.7 million. This is probably the peak in our total cash on hand. It'll start trailing off between now and the end of the year. Again, we had our big tax collections for December, January, so we're pretty flush with cash at this point, but it will be drawn down now from to the end of the year as we make all of our expenses for the rest of the year. So that concludes the report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Any questions from the board about the monthly financial report? Okay, if there's no questions, we'll move on to item 7B, the detailed summary of finance update. Again, we recognize Mr. John Chase to present the summary.
As you know, back probably about 7-8 years ago, we put in place as a board just to kind of review the summaries of finances in the district. Just by way of review, as you know, the summary finance report is that report that this TEA puts out, and it tells us what state aid that we're entitled to receive over the year based on our student attendance and other things that go in tax collections. Is the other big thing that goes into the funding formula to determine what we're eligible for. At the beginning of the year, they have an estimate that we have to turn in. Actually, it's at this point it's 2 years old, the estimate, because they do it every biennium. You have to estimate what your average daily attendance and some other factors are going to be that they use in the formula. So they kind of, when they do their legislative appropriation on that biennium, they kind of have an idea of what they're cash that they're going to be out for that biennium. It's so the estimate that you send in, that's what they pay you on. What you actually earn is what attendance actually shows up during the year, and there's a settle-up process, plus or minus, if they over or underpay you, and that settle-up process happens in the month of September. So just when we get ready to review the report, there's the legislative planning estimate side, and again, that's the side that's what the cash they're actually sending us on during the year, and then the district planning estimate side is the side that we'll actually probably earn by year end. And so that DEPE, when they put this report out at the beginning of the year, it matches with what the LPE side is because they don't know what our enrollment is for the year until they get that report. We submitted in October. And then this time of year, sometime, I think late February is when it was adjusted this year, but they take that October enrollment that we send to them and they extrapolate from that what they estimate our average daily attendance will be based on that enrollment for the year. And so they've adjusted that report, and so just to kind of go into it, I think this, as it said in the background, there's page 10, 11, if you're tracking along in your book, just as I said, on the LPE side, they're paying us, flowing us cash on an average daily attendance of 9,945. Based on their estimate, they're thinking our actual average daily attendance by year end is going to be 10,603 or close to it. So as you can tell, when we'll get down to the end of the report, it's pretty clear to see that they're going to underpay us by quite a large amount this year because there's about 650 or so average daily attendance that they're not giving it to us during the year, but they'll settle us up in September. The other thing I'd point out on the summaries of finances is that they use the prior year's property value in the formula. You may have heard some of this before from me in the past, but the line right above that is that $4 billion number. That's what our actual property values were that we were taxing on this current year. This 3.5 billion number is what they're using in the formula to determine what our tax collections are for the formula basis, which is a year old. And so the difference between that number and the one above is about $5 million. And so we collect more or less $5 million in tax revenue in the current year than they're using in the funding formula. So we actually get to keep those dollars, and there's that lag that's in the formula. So, we grew 13.5% on our property values this year. When that slows down a bit, and it will, I mean, we're not going to grow at 13.5%. On average, the last 3 years, it's been about 15%. We're not going to continue to grow that way forever. It will slow down, and so when that starts slowing to a normal growth pattern, then that lag between what they're taking out in our formula versus what we're collecting will get squeezed, and so we'll no longer get that extra $5 million year over year that we're currently getting. So just want to point that out. It would be appropriate for us to use that for one-time expenditures and other things in the district, but we want to be real careful about tying those things up in personnel costs that's reoccurring, for future years, because it will make things pretty difficult for us if we do. Just moving on then to the next lines of the report. It is in lines 48 and 49. That just shows you what we get in our general fund to operate our district. What we're going to earn is about almost $39 million there. And on the debt service, they do still pay us a little dab of money to help offset our bonded debt. The more wealthy we get on a per pupil basis, the less and less that gets. And once we get to a threshold of collecting, $35 per penny per pupil, then those are the dollar amounts there will be zero, and we will no longer get any more unless they, of course, adjust the formulas during the legislative cycle and give us more money on a per pupil basis in the future. And so the last but not least, as I kind of alluded to during our earlier discussion, is that this is the final part of the report that tells you whether you're going to be over or underpaid. In this, on line 7, where it shows $5.7 million, that's the amount that they're going to underpay us for the year. And so because we were a June 30 fiscal year start, or end, and July 1 start, we won't collect this money until more than 60 days past the fiscal year end. And so, by rule for the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, they won't let us actually pull that revenue in this year and offset the expenditures that we have for the current year, even though that's really the revenue that we technically earned. If we were doing it on a full accrual basis, then that money would be picked up. But because it's not on full accrual, it's modified accrual accounting, we have to defer that revenue recognition until the following fiscal year. And so what's going to look like is our revenues this year are going to be, lower than what we would typically expect, but next year we're going to be up, $5.7 million, because we did send our estimate in for our biennial payments for this legislative cycle, and that we did adjust them quite a bit. Obviously with the last a couple of years of pretty stout enrollment growth. I think we were averaging about 700 or so extra for the following school years, and so I don't anticipate, unless we grow a whole lot more than 700 next year, that we'll have that large of an overpayment. So we should see a one-time spike in our revenues for next year. But if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer them. But that's pretty much the summaries of finance. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to discuss it further.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Any questions by the board? Mr. Carroll?
Mr. Chase, on the underfund of the $5.6 million, does this summary of finance illustrate the settle up from 17-18 school year?
It does not. So last year, you're right. We were underpaid then. I believe it was like 1.8 or 2 or somewhere. Maybe it was 3 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we were underpaid the last school year as well, and we did receive that payment in September. That would technically on our revenue side, it will offset some of that $5 million underpayment this year. But so. We didn't budget quite on an increase of 900 kids this year. I think we were estimating about 650 or so, if my memory serves me right. So the estimate that we had in our budget was already lower, not counting that we were going to get $5 million or almost $6 million here. That was partially offset though by revenue that we picked up from the prior year. But all in all, we'll still probably be under our revenue estimate in our general fund this year by a couple $1 million when it's all said and done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Chase. Moving on to item 7C, we'll have our synergy report from Ms. Kim Morisak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson, Dr. Terry, board. At this time, I'm going to call Mr. Eric Segovas up. Eric is our teacher for Synergy, and he's going to introduce our students who are going to present this evening. Mr. Segovas?
Thank you, Ms. Morisak. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, folks. I'm honored this year to serve as the teacher of record for the Synergy program, which is an initiative on the part of our district to flatten our organizational structure and invest our students with the power to become agents of educational change in their own district. So our students have worked on such projects as we've planned events for the city, we've hired staff, we have written curriculum, we've reviewed curriculum, and we are constantly developing new and bigger projects for our students to work on. And you can see here sort of the original plan that motivated the Synergy Initiative. We're marrying practicum experience to our students' voices, giving them an opportunity to lead in demonstrable ways in our district, and giving them that opportunity to experience what it's like to really solve actual problems. And I could tell you dozens of stories about how they've done that, but I'm going to let the half dozen students out of the 24 that we have come up and tell you a little bit about what they've been doing and what they've been learning this year as part of their Synergy experience.
Hey guys, my name is Maggie Baldwin, and I'm a senior at North Forney High School. And this year I've gotten an amazing opportunity to help with the mental health and wellness of my campus culture. I've helped change the campus culture at my school by doing a few things, including painting the bathroom stalls at my school, and here are some pictures of that. It was super awesome. We got to go in during the fall break and clean the stalls that we painted, and we painted them. And they're still in okay shape right now. I'm really proud of that. And I've also gotten the opportunity to speak at multiple conferences. And another thing that I helped do this year was we made like little cups for the support staff, and we gave them to every single nurse, every single janitor, every single cafeteria worker, just to show our way of saying thank you. One thing I've learned this year is that you can do anything you set your mind to. Every single student here has so much support behind us, and anything that we want to do, they will help us do it as long as we have the confidence in ourselves to do it. And another thing that we've also done this year is these are called compliment clips, and they have little compliments on them. And one of our initiatives is to, like, if you're walking in the hallway, you can just like take one and then like clip it to like the collar of their shirt, and they like find it later and it just like says something cute. So I'm gonna give one of these to every member of the board.
Hello, my name is Joshua Gridley. I am also a Synergy student from North Forney High School. And not only have I had the opportunity to be in the Synergy program for 2 years now, I've also had the opportunity to go to a conference that just happened for the Texas Association of School Boards over in Galveston. So at this presentation, I presented something that I am very fond of when it comes to my high school experience, and I hope it could expand to others, and that is esports. So what we presented over in Galveston was the importance that esports can give students throughout their high school lives through the development of their soft skills. Because as we know, soft skills are very relevant in the workforce now, and I believe that there is an underrepresented group of students within our district, and so, or in every district really. So what I believe is through this initiative, we can sort of bridge the gap between those underrepresented students and the students that are currently learning the soft skills like, like everyone else is. So one thing I have learned through this initiative is everybody really has a voice. Not only Synergy, but through the programs that you can build through your schools, whether it be a club organization or like a district leadership movement. So, yeah, thank you.
Where's the button? This one. Oops.
Hi, my name is Desiree Sutter. I'm a junior at Forney High School. And this year, I've had the opportunity to work alongside Ms. Johns at Johnson Elementary with the kindergarteners. So far this year, I have helped and worked with the students that are in that class, and we have made some activities and helped the students. We have worked in different areas with the students for them to be able to learn better and achieve what they're needing to learn and to get to their full potential. I've had the opportunity to help 3 particular students to help them get to where they're supposed to be and help them focus a lot better. And so from November to now, they have gotten tremendously better than what I've seen, and they have been able to focus a lot more from November to now. One thing I've learned this year that, like Maggie said, you can do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm William Crawford, a senior at Forney High School. Over the last school year, I've worked on a few programming projects, but last summer, Josh and I were given the opportunity to write the curriculum for the new Computer Science 1 class in Java programming. This has probably been the first time that a student has been honored to write a class for the school district. So I was kind of surprised when I was labeled as the guru of programming, even though I don't consider myself much of an expert. So programming for a classroom is a lot more difficult than programming just normal projects, because instead of being technical, I have to know how the students are going to treat new code and think about the students that may not catch on as quickly. curriculum that I wrote in particular, I'm not very proud of because I've seen much better curriculum. And I know that I'm just a student that may be a little bit inexperienced in curriculum writing, but some of the students this year have gotten into the program, and I've seen quite a bit of progress in our computer science area. So this year, I've learned kind of how to write curriculum, even though I'm used to just working by myself on projects. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yicheng Huang. I am a junior at Forney High School. This year I worked on a lot of projects with computer software and through Synergy. These are some of the projects I've worked on, which include working alongside the Forney Fire Department and figuring out how much each type of call costs, as well as working alongside the city to create a game exposition for the spring. And as you can see, I've had to use the basic information given to me and use math skills to figure out how much each one costs for every single type of call. Through this program, I have learned that with any subject, the things that we learn in school and the skills we've gained from them can help us really accomplish certain tasks. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Hi. Sorry. My name is Abigail Jarrett. I'm a senior at North Forney High School. I guess I could put the slide up. There you go. And so this year, Synergy has given me so many opportunities that I'm like, it's blown me away. Best senior year ever. My favorite, though, has been going to the flip-in training. I got to sit in the room with a bunch of other assistant principals and teachers in the district, because it's our district. And it was so interesting to me to see this is how our district is working towards better valuing those around us. Something I remember having said at that training was, we're a district that values valuing people. We're working to make sure everyone is working on the same level with equal input on ideas, and that's part of what our Synergy program does. That's what the training was doing, having teachers in with the assistant principals as well. It's working to have everyone on the same page and keep things going as best as they possibly can. One of the things I've learned through Synergy this year is that I am capable of being more than just a top 10% student, just a good academic human being. I can actually use those skills that I learn to apply them to like a real job situation. And no matter what job I'm in, even if I don't particularly enjoy it or it's not my first choice on what I want to do, I have learned how to put forth my best effort no matter what, so that it will translate eventually into something that will be more along the lines of what I plan on doing. All right. With that, I think that's all of us. So thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. And now Mr. Scott.
Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for the opportunity to present this evening. It is one thing for a district to say that they place students at the center of what they do, but it is another thing entirely to invest those students with real power. To say that we would love for you to help us with curriculum and then to turn around and give someone like Will access to your servers are two entirely different things. But with that responsibility that the board and the administration has empowered our students with, they are doing tremendous things, and I hope they've had an opportunity to show you a little bit about that. We've had a number of districts that have come to see a little bit of what we're doing, and many of them struggle with the same core problem of letting go of the authority that our district has given to some of these students to meet here in this building with these administrators and be actual agents of shaping the way that our district shapes up. And I hope that you'll get to know some of our students and what they've worked on. And we thank you for this opportunity as well, for which they'll be graded according to the TEKS, by the way. And we look forward to presenting to you again in the future. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Segovas, and students. We hear a lot about the Synergy program. It's great to hear from you guys. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8 is our consent agenda this evening. Item 8A, the minutes of the March 4th, 2019 regular meeting. 8B, approve the budget amendment. 8C, approve and adopt TASB policy update number 112 affecting local policies as listed as a final reading. Let's see, we've got 8C 1A, BJA local superintendent qualifications and duties. CCG local revenue sources ad valorem taxes. CCGA local ad valorem taxes exemptions and payments. CH local purchasing and acquisition, CQ local technology resources, CV local facilities construction, DCB local employment practices term contracts. This one got offline. DH local employee standards of conduct, DIA local employee welfare freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation, FMA local student activities, school-sponsored publications, FNG local student rights and responsibilities, student and parent complaints, grievances, GF local public complaints, GKA local community relations, conduct on school premises, and GKB local community relations, advertising and fundraising. Item 8D, approve class size waivers, and 8E, approve the extension of the depository contract. The board may take action on each item separately or collectively at the board's pleasure.
Vice President Johnson, I make a motion to collectively approve items A through E as written.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Regan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Andrews. Any questions by the board? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to item 9, consideration and possible approval of granting hiring authority to the superintendent through September 9th, 2019. We recognize Dr. Justin Terry, who will present on this item. Dr. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Board, this is an annual conversation for us, and especially this year with such a good economy, it is so vital and important that we try and capture the best and most qualified candidates as quickly as possible, as early in the year as possible. And this year, because of that, we are coming to you, as always, to ask for authority to the superintendent for hiring power. As you recall, as in past years, we always bring those back for ratification once they are approved. So we are a little bit early this year, and that is because our job fair is a little bit earlier than normal. We also approved positions in January instead of February, so we're acting with some of the new expansions that we've got coming online next year, just about 1 month ahead of our normal schedule. But tonight we are asking that you grant authority to the superintendent through September 9th, 2019 for hiring power as we move forward with contractual employees.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. Are there any questions from the board regarding item 9? Okay, do I have a motion?
Mr. Johnson, I make a motion, we grant the superintendent hiring authority through September 9th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Dobbs. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 10. Consideration and possible approval of contract to re-roof Criswell Elementary. At this time, Mr. Chase will come and present to us on the re-roofing at Criswell. Mr. Chase?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. In the background information, I just pointed out, we did request proposals to re-roof Criswell Elementary for this upcoming summer. We advertised in the Forney Messenger on the January 17th and 24th, and we had a pre-bid conference on the 24th, and we did have 8 contractors that submitted proposals. I think 7 of them actually showed up to the pre-bid. And so just to kind of give you the information as we received it, we bid the projects with several base bids over several areas of the roof. And then we had one proposal to do it all, basically. So we have a menu of options that we could choose from, you know, when it was all said and done. The lowest cost proposal that we did receive was from CS Advantage. Their total lump sum proposal was $912,000. The highest one that we got was, you know, $1.5 million or just over. So, you know, we had a little bit of a disparity between the low and the high, but after we received the bids, our roof consultant did contact the CS Advantage and went over their proposal with them. They've done some work with CS Advantage in other parts of the state, so they, you know, I think the company's been around for a while. They feel like they got a decent track record and they can do the job for us. So, just kind of look as the proposal it was written. I've got a kind of a schematic of the building here, and area A and area F, those areas of the roof just have a one single roof on the buildings, and in areas B, C, which is over the library, and it's a raised roof there. Area D here, and area E, which is a raised roof over the gymnasium. They've all been re-roofed once, so they've got 2 layers of roof on it, and so that has to be torn all the way down to the metal deck, a new layer of insulation put down, and then they can put that recover board on and they put the roof plies on top of that. So when they did the roof core, I mean, this is what the 2 layers were on that area, if you're interested. I mean, this is the first layer of roof that was on when the building, I guess, was originally built, and then this was what was put on afterwards, and it's about, you know, a little over 8 inches thick there. So that will have to come all the way off, and as we discussed in the background information, you know, the budget that we had established for the project was $750,000, and so that $912, if we chose to do the whole thing, you know, is a pretty good bit amount over that. And so as a cost-saving measure, this add alternate 1 basically was putting metal wall panels on those raised areas, like around the library and the gymnasium. It's another waterproofing method on that masonry walls that are raised up over the roof. But we feel like we can maybe address that in a little other, you know, another way. Maybe do some waterproofing on the brick itself or something, instead of putting the wall panels on that, and leave that off the recommendation here. But when it's all said and done, we are recommending tonight that we move forward with CS Advantage as a proposal to accept, and to accept their proposals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and not accept their alternate. And so that total contract price would be $863,000, and that's $113,000 over our budget. And we feel like we've got some other areas in our budget that we can slide over and make up the difference. And if you'll remember last year that we did the Claiborne roof job, a lot of that contract went across the fiscal year, and so these expenses, while, you know, we'll have to budget this $863 when we issue the purchase order, the likelihood of us really completing that by July 1 is probably pretty slim, because they won't even start until the kids are done around June 1st. So it takes them a little longer than a month to get that, you know, project completed. So a lot of these expenditures, you know, that 113 would probably likely be appropriated in the next budget year anyway. So, but that's the recommendation. If you have any questions or would like to discuss it further, I'd be happy to discuss it with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase. Dr. Terry, do you have a recommendation on this item?
Yes, sir. I would recommend that we increase our budget at about $113,000 for this project. As you saw, we discovered 2 layers of roof, and to add on a third would be great insulation. However, I don't know how great it'd be for a roofing project. So now that we have to tear that off, that increase in the budget is very much needed. So we do think we have a good bid process, and we are taking one of the lower bids for this project.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Terry. Any questions from the board?
Just one, Mr. Johnson. The additional proposal 1 that are we going to self-perform that, or are we just going to do that work with another contractor outside of this bid?
You talking about the add alternate to waterproof the masonry walls?
Yes, sir, that $49,000?
So I talked to our Director of Facility Services, Chris Gibbs, and he's had some experience spraying a waterproofing substance on those brick. And I don't know if that's something that he would do himself, or he could contract that out at some point in the future. But I think it's probably something that they probably likely would contract out. But that was discussion that I had with him whenever we chose to not accept that alternate.
And potentially perform that work within your maintenance budget that you already have budgeted?
Yes, sir. That would be what we do. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, you've heard the report from Mr. Chase and the recommendation of Dr. Terry. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Carroll? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Regan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 11, consideration and possible approval of appointment of Facility Advisory Committee. At this time, Dr. Terry will present regarding the appointment of an advisory committee.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Board, we are coming to you tonight, as you know, to begin to look at our next steps with our long-term planning. If you've driven anywhere around Forney, you know that we're growing and growing very fast. And so we, a few years back, put together a facility advisory team that recommended expansions to Ray and Smith and moving forward with an intermediate structure. We have done that and are looking to open those doors here coming up next year. But we've got, with the exponential growth, we got some new challenges awaiting us. And so what we'd like to do is conform a team together this spring, a facilities advisory committee to evaluate our current facilities, look at our growth that is coming our direction, and propose and recommend back to you in our May meeting what their recommendation would be for some of our future plans for facilities. As you recall, we have actually asked each of the board members to nominate a few members to a committee. We've also asked our pastors that are a part of our pastor team, our PTO presidents, community leaders, as well as some parents and students to serve on around a 50-member committee over the next few months. And so what we're bringing you tonight is, and at your seat you should see the final version of those who have accepted, if you approve them tonight, to be a part of this committee moving forward. So I would recommend tonight the approval, along with Mr. Ferris's input into this committee as well, for a group to examine our long-term planning for facilities and come back with a recommendation to the board in late May.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Terry. Any questions from the board regarding the Facility Advisory Committee? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Johnson, I make a motion that the board approve the appointment of the Facility Advisory Committee.
All right, we got a motion by Mr. Green. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carroll. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 12, consideration and possible approval of the certification of unopposed candidates for the May 4th, 2019 school board election. At this time, Dr. Terry will present regarding the approval of certification.
As most of you are aware, the deadline has passed for board signups, and since they have all passed, we only had 3 candidates apply for the positions that we had open this year for our May 4th, 2019 election. First was Chad Johnson for position 5, Becky Dobbs for position 6, and Christopher Andrews for position 7. And so tonight, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the certification of unopposed candidates for the May 4th, 2019 school board election as presented tonight.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Terry. Any questions from the board? All right. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the board approve the certificate of unopposed candidates for the May 4th, 2019 school board election as presented and recommended by the administration.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Thank you, Ms. Green. Second by Ms. Green. All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 13. Consideration and possible approval of canceling the school board election previously set for May 4th, 2019. At this time, Dr. Terry will present regarding cancellation of the school board election. Dr. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, Board. The following candidates again, Chad Johnson, position 5, Becky Dobbs, position 6, Christopher Andrews, position 7, have now been certified as unopposed, and therefore we will not need to have an election unless you just wanted to have one. But I would recommend tonight that we go ahead and cancel the May 4th, 2019 school board election, and we'll also, Mr. Chase, put a little money back in the kitty after that. So I know he's excited about that. So congratulations to each of you. We're so excited to have you back on the board as we move forward, and that swearing in will occur in May.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Terry. Any questions from the board regarding item 13? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion the board approve the cancellation of the school board election.
All right. Motion by Mr. Andrews. Do I have a second? And a second by Ms. Dobbs. The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to item 14. Closed session for item 14A, deliberation regarding employment of professional contract personnel pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters, and item 14B, deliberation regarding reemployment of professional contract personnel pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters. Is there any on the board that want to go into closed session this evening for these items? Okay. Then we will pass the closed session and move right on to item number 15, consideration and possible approval of employment of professional contract personnel. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Johnson, I make a motion to approve the employment of professional contract personnel as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Carroll. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Andrews. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to item 16, consideration and possible approval of reemployment of professional contract personnel. Do we have a motion?
Johnson? Okay.
Got a motion by Ms. Green.
I'll second
We have a second by Mr. Andrews. I'm in a hurry. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 17, announcements. 17A, we have Monday, March the 11th through the 15th is the district spring break. Coming up Friday, March 22nd at 11:30 a.m. is the Forney Education Foundation clay shoot. That will be at the Rockwall Gun Club. Monday, April the 1st at 6 p.m. we have the regular meeting of the school board. Monday, the April 29th at 5:30 in the evening, the Forney Education Foundation Glitz and Glamour event. Monday, May 13th at 6 o'clock in the evening will be the regular board meeting. And Tuesday, May 28th at 6 p.m. will be our June board meeting, but we'll be holding it on Tuesday, May 28th. Having nothing further, then we are adjourned. The time is now 8:11 p.m. Thanks.
Y'all have a good evening. Behave yourself out there too. Appreciate you.
Thanks, sir. As always, we appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, sounds good, man. Thank you very much.